Good evening, everyone. I'm Ashley Wickline. I'm the Community Relations Coordinator for the Lake City Police Department. Thank you all for coming out to safety training for houses of worship. Chief Butler is going to come up and say a couple words.
Thank you, Ashley. For those of you who don't, excuse me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Interim Police Chief Jerry Butler. Chief Gilmore retired about 3 weeks ago. I've been named the Interim Police Chief. I was the Assistant Chief for 8 years. This is our first public event since the Chief has left, but to let everybody know, we do plan on starting all the community events that we used to do, the Breakfast with the Chief, Coffee with a Cop, I'm forgetting the Explorer program. Anybody that wants to know, we are going to wait 1 more year on the Policeman's Ball. Just with COVID, I don't know if it's safe to put everybody into a small space like that. So they are on the side of caution. We're going to wait 1 more year before we go back to that. But we are back. We are going to be doing all our public events. Also food share and farm share. And the other events were also on our calendar. So we hope you also help us attend those. They're near and dear to our hearts. I do believe in community relations, that we are part of the community, just like Chief Gilmore did. Again, I was her assistant for almost 8 years. A lot of people say, even though we talk differently, we think alike. So hopefully you won't see much change as far as our outreach programs. As far as our current series with the places of worship, as everybody knows, unfortunately, there are some individuals out there that like to prey on the most vulnerable. And I really can't think of someone more vulnerable than sitting there praying to their God, and somebody comes up and wants to do them harm. Hopefully these will give you some tidbits, some information on little changes you can make to make your facility safer. That is inside and outside. You know, little things like locking their car doors, somebody staying outside and watching. But Ashley and Officer Mangrum will fill you in at the end if you have any questions. Ask, and then again, if you think something's wrong, call. I would much rather send officers to go there and find out it's nothing than for us to get a panic phone call that there is something going on. So again, thank you for coming, and hopefully you'll enjoy the series. Ashley.
Just real quick, I'm sure everyone knows, but the restrooms are outside and to the right. There's also a water fountain out there, hand sanitizers in the back, masks, and a sign-in sheet. If you didn't sign in, you can just sign in at the end of the program. Erica Johns is actually our crime prevention officer. She is not here this evening and will be working with crime prevention when she returns to the unit. Okay, so the purpose of this evening is to create awareness of the safety and security issues facing places of worship. Like Chief Butler was saying, they are very vulnerable due to the nature of what's happening within the facilities. Educate worship leaders about several common risks and how to mitigate them, provide support in establishing safe practices and security procedures, and answer any questions you may have. We know you may have a lot of questions. We ask you to hold those to the end, like jot them down so you remember, and then we'll check everybody out. So what is a place of worship? You may know this, but there's actually statutes that follow places of worship. So it's a specially designated structure and space where individuals or group of people, such as a congregation, come together to perform acts of religious study. Under Florida law, these are defined as religious institutions and receive special protections. Many crimes receive enhanced penalties if they occur at or close to a place of worship. Criminals, however, look for easy targets and do not respect the sanctity of such locations. A place or house of worship should be the safest place on earth. Sadly, they are a target of crime and violence more often than many may realize. While we must be prepared for large-scale tragedies, these make up only a small percentage of crime targeting them. So what we're saying is, of course, there's been in the news that there's been shootings at churches and other religious facilities, but small and petty crimes are still occurring at those places as well. Places of worship represent a unique crime prevention challenge for police officers due to their nature. These are often physically open environments in which people feel safe and often let their guard down. Preventing crime of any scale requires a balanced approach that integrates traditional crime prevention strategies and security technology with the overall mission of the institution. Some of that may sound confusing to some. We're going to discuss all of those things tonight. Risk mitigation must complete the activities of the organization without interfering with its outreach and service ministry. Statistics. A Department of Justice study found between 2000 and 2013, 3.8% of all active shooter incidents occurred in houses of worship. The FBI analyzed 8 worship center shootings between 2000 and 2015, looking at shooter age, shooter gender, casualties, and final outcome. Strategies: security consciousness, risk assessment, security evaluation, target hardening, protection of assets, and youth protection. Consciousness. Many people attending services view themselves as immune to criminal attacks from divine intervention. Understand that criminals know this and will take advantage of the situation. Unlock vehicles in parking lots, unattended valuables on the property, large sums of unsecured money, such as offerings. 2 major categories of risk are internal and external, so inside the building and outside. Organizations must recognize risk in order to mitigate. Internal risk involve programs or initiatives involving the place of worship. For example, an organization offering marriage counseling or divorce workshop may be at risk for domestic violence incidents. External risk, for example, an organization offering marriage counseling or divorce workshops may be at risk for domestic violence incidents. Nope. Help me out, Matt.
The battery back?
I don't know.
Oh no, I had to omit somebody, sorry. Try now.
No 2 places of worship are exactly the same. As such, no exact guidelines exist on how to make your physical building secure. We can conduct an assessment of your building and give specific advice. Certified crime prevention practitioner and certified in CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. We actually have police officers that are certified in this program. They can come out to your facility, look at your building.
There's no charge.
It's free of charge. Security devices, lighting, landscapes, all contribute. So this is saying that the things outside of your building, much like your home, contribute to the safety inside of your building. So if it looks like an easy target, it's going to be an easy target. In general, the harder it is to commit a crime at your property, or the greater the risk of detection, the less likely a criminal will target your location. This does not mean places of worship must be turned into castles or bunkers. Something as simple as proper landscape management can deter crime. Access control, lighting, alarm system, locks, cameras, signage, etc. Normal versus abnormal users. Any systems that make people who belong feel comfortable tend to make those who do not belong feel uncomfortable. Territorial reinforcement using landscaping, increased lighting in certain areas, and increased natural surveillance or perception help make criminals feel vulnerable. This reduces your risk of becoming a victim. Lighting is very important in this instance. Like, you don't want shadows or areas where people can hide. Protection of assets. Financial assets of an organization are often vulnerable, not just the physical property. Offerings are collected at the same time in the same manner every time. This predictable pattern allows criminals to plan their activity. Beyond threats of robbery, thefts of fraud and embezzlement exist. Accounting practices, money deposit procedures, and charitable distribution should follow an established protocol. Investigator Magrum is going to explain the next few slides based on the offering plate system.
How y'all doing this evening?
All right, how you doing?
Wonderful, thank you. This is showing just a basic sanctuary. You see to the left is the entry door, and just inside the entry door is the offering plate, and it's at the rear of the church. When people are sitting in the church during service, where are they facing? They're facing the front of the church. So if the offering plate is in the rear, nobody's watching it. So it's basically insecure. It's making it an easy target. It's easy access, no visibility, fast escape. They can come right in the door and grab the offering plate and exit without hardly even being seen. All right. What we're suggesting is high visibility, difficult escape, the offering plate being placed up at the front of the church. How many churches do we have here that have their offering plate in the back of the church? Do we have anybody that's all up front? So y'all pretty much already got a general understanding of it. And my church does the same thing. It's set out for the offering, and when it's done, it's taken up and secured.
That was a suggested route from an offering plate there.
Thank you.
One thing with, especially with the holidays, if you do have some currency and you think something's wrong, you're worried, and you want us to escort you to the bank, we will provide a currency escort. So it'll happen, we will provide a currency escort. So what'll happen is if you call and make arrangements with us, we'll have a patrol car come by and follow you to the bank. That way you can go in, especially this time of year, people tend to have a little bit more money in the offering plate. So you're, this way at least feel safer, and we'll make those arrangements and get that escort for you.
Youth protection. Many places of worship also act as childcare or youth education facilities. Research shows that sexual predators gravitate toward activities where fewer protective measures are in place. Develop proactive policies for working with children that balance the mission of the organization with risk associated with youth programming. Establish a standardized application process for employees and volunteers, like a background check. Provide oversight and accountability. All workers, including volunteers, should be trained in youth protection. Restrict access to children for visitors or unverified workers. Drop off and pick up procedures. Proactive strategies. A critical aspect of a comprehensive security plan is the designation of a group of organization members to develop security policies, crisis response plans, evaluate weaknesses, and coordinate security concerns with organizational leadership. This group should be led by someone with the authority to develop policies, enforce compliance, and act as a liaison to law enforcement and outside services. The purpose of this meeting is not to provide you with a comprehensive strategy that you can simply take back and implement. No two places of worship are the same, and it is up to your organization to find the strategies that best fit within your organization. What we're saying here is that you want to identify members of your congregation or your church, your house of worship, that are going to be able to take this and make it great. You don't want everyone in your congregation to know your safety plans, to know what's going on with your security. You just want them to know that you're there, you're present, that you do have those plans in place, and that you know what action to take. Matt, would you play this video?
This one or the other one?
That one.
I had
Out logbook is advisable. You should always know who has access to your building. Start by making sure keys or access cards are registered and return when people no longer need them.
Keys should not be tagged and should be stamped with the words, "Do not duplicate." Locks should be changed every 2 or 3 years. If you open your facility to outside groups, you have a right to know how many attend a meeting, and you should hold one person responsible for leaving your building secure. Post a list of activities so that all members know when facilities are being used and by whom.
Newer technology can help safeguard people in buildings. Things like keypads and electronic card systems can limit access to specific areas and can record who comes and goes at all times. Closed-circuit cameras and motion detectors could be considered. These systems can be costly, complicated, and require monitoring. I'd recommend that you get a professional involved in selecting a system for your needs. If you do install a system, make sure potential intruders know about it. Post signs indicating that you have one. Don't keep it a secret.
During services or activities, monitor open cloakrooms or hall areas. Many thefts involve coats and purses left in a common area. Between services, keep valuable artifacts out of public view. You need a safe area to store them. Use an etching pen to identify the valuable items in your facility. Mark them with the phone number of your worship center. Make sure to include your area code. Do a video inventory and store it away from your facility. That way, valuable items and things that would be hard to replace are documented.
Establishing a system for handling cash and financial responsibilities can prevent 2 problems. One is worship center robberies on Sunday afternoons and evenings. But the other problem is more common: embezzlement.
Do a background check of anyone who will be involved with finances, as well as people in other important positions. Church Mutual has more information on its website to help you in this area. At least 2 people should be used to count and record offerings. All checks should be immediately stamped for deposit only. Deposit cash and offerings in the bank as soon as possible. Use your bank's night depository. If it can't be immediately deposited, cash should be locked in a secure place within your building, like a safe. Above all, cash should never be taken to someone's home. To further guard against embezzlement, establish a procedure for the disbursement of petty cash. Minimize the number of people with access. Treat it like a bank account. The two-people rule should also be applied to the handling of financial transactions. Two people should sign larger checks and approve larger transfers of funds from one account to another. Bank statements should be verified independently of the persons with check writing and other account authority. Audits should be conducted annually.
Another area we should talk about is cybercrime. There are a growing number of online scams, intrusions, and identity thefts. Your congregation could be vulnerable, especially with all the information you might have about your members today, like direct deposit passwords. There are also a growing number of incidents where people leave electronic information exposed, on laptop computers when they travel, on desktop computers left open and accessible. What do you do?
Start by making sure your computer software is up to date, especially your virus and spyware protection. Install a firewall. Secure your wireless network. Store members' personal information electronically in a secure file. It's a good idea to only store it on a computer's hard drive that is not connected to the internet. Limit your membership directory information to name, address, and phone number. Never collect or store a member's social security number. Limit access to your computers by using passwords, and limit access to those passwords. One problem is leaving information on a computer that you discard or resell. Better to physically destroy the hard drives of computers no longer in use. If you still use paper records, protect them under lock and key, and make use of a crosscut type shredder when you throw away any information.
Ministering to transients is not easy work. Some have cognitive problems. They can be hard to communicate with, and they can be violent. Also, if word gets out that you help transients, more may come and your facility might be in danger of things such as vandalism. Too often, the first time your staff thinks about how to deal with transients is when the first needy person comes through the door. Many need help that goes far beyond a secretary's abilities. The importance of having written policies and procedures for benevolence requests cannot be overemphasized. Having written policies and procedures solves some important problems. First, it clearly delineates what kind of assistance may be provided, in what situations, and how. Second, a written policy eliminates many inappropriate requests and a ton of personal pressure.
Always tell a transient what you can do, not what you can't. It's important to remember that every person's problem is a crisis to him or her. Have a list of assistance programs in your area that you can pass out. Never give cash. Consider vouchers at shelters for food and lodging, or at a nearby gas station, if gas is needed to reach a destination. Signage posted at the entrance of your building that states there is no cash on the premises could be a good idea.
Now let's talk about violent acts and incidents of terrorism. They are impossible to predict or prevent. The panic and pandemonium that follow an incident makes rational response even harder. You can't rely on your instincts in these situations. Instincts are often wrong. Many people just freeze. The one thing you can do is establish an incident response protocol, so you know what to do if an incident occurs.
The components of your protocol should include a procedure for evacuation or lockdown. Routes and meeting places should be established. Can you even lock off areas inside your facility like classrooms or daycare? Think about first aid. Who is trained to provide it? You should have a communication procedure, something as simple as who places the call to 911. Then, who alerts your staff and your members? How do you alert them? And who will handle media inquiries?
Talk to any emergency responders in your area. See if your local police department has a special weapons or tactics unit, a SWAT team. Make sure your response doesn't conflict with theirs.
I'm Mike Robin, president of Church Mutual Insurance Company. The subject of crime in worship centers is a large one that covers many areas: theft, arson, embezzlement, and violent acts that are impossible to anticipate. We've covered a lot of information in a short time, and you could easily be overwhelmed by the many things you should do. I'd like to suggest that you start by forming a safety committee to review and implement ways to anticipate crime, or at the very least, designate a member of your staff to be a security manager. Their job is to plan and implement prevention measures, things as simple as assigning someone to unlock or lock your facility. If you are successful, the steps you take can enhance the sense of trust and security that your congregation feels when they gather to worship.
Know that you are not alone when you begin your crime prevention work. To determine your facility's security, ask your local police department if they offer needs assessments. Better yet, ask a security consultant who has experience in designing physical and logical security solutions. There's also free assistance from other prevention resources like Operation Identification, Crime Stoppers, Crime Watch, and Arson Hotline.
Church Mutual Insurance Company offers brochures, videos, newsletters, posters, checklists, and more to help make your organization and activities safer for everyone involved. They are available.
We have one more.
More video?
We're back. Okay. We have one more. It's a very short video about active shooters. There is an abundance of information available through, this is the FBI, about active shooter incidents and training. There's other information out there. We just don't want to bombard you all this evening with all of it.
Most active shooter events are over within 5 minutes. Over 35% end in less than 2. They're rare, but they happen. When attending a mass gathering, scan for escape routes and other places that might provide protection. Pre-planning will shorten your reaction time and help overcome the tendency to freeze. Survival is tied to action. Run if you can. It makes you a harder target and puts distance between you and the attacker. Don't hesitate. Seconds matter. If running is too risky, hide in a secure place. Lock or barricade yourself in. Turn off the lights and silence phones. Then plan an attack strategy in case the shooter enters. Fighting is always your last resort, but if you must, empower yourself. Find something to use as a weapon and don't fight fair. First responders will be on the scene within minutes. Until then, it's up to you. Go to fbi.gov/survive to learn more.
As we discussed earlier, we do offer subtype services, so someone can come out to your facilities for free, check the exterior and exterior of the building, and provide suggestions that would help your building, your facility, your house of worship to be as safe as possible. If you have questions, we can go ahead and answer some questions now. Yeah. Anybody else have questions? Anybody else have questions? Thing doesn't like me. It just keeps going off.
And again, some of the items that we've talked about here, your taxpayers.
Die again?
Anybody have questions in the chat?
No one's said that.
Many of the things we discussed here, the Lake City Police Department offers free of charge. Everyone here is a taxpayer. You've already paid for the service. Again, I mentioned courtesy escorts if you think they're necessary. If you see a suspicious person, you'd much rather go and find out it's nothing. When we're talking about indigents or people who come in that might have some mental or substance abuse issues, we do have groups that we're part of to help them get housing, help them get help. So it's not just on you to get those services, we have actually available. One of Ashley's duties is community outreach. We have the Homeless Coalition and other organizations, the veterans. We're always there to help. We'd much rather get somebody the help they need and make sure nothing happens and have to arrest. Arrest is always the last resort. So, and again, what Ashley had said, everybody's facility is different. One of the reasons we couldn't get into specifics is we can't because everything is different. You had Officer Manglin come out do an assessment. We have also Sergeant Lee, who's our practitioner. He could come and do a very in-depth septet analysis. And we understand, we look at these things from a low cost, a high impact point of view. If you want to get a security system, if you want to get a camera system, that's great. And it might be simple as you might cut back the shrub. Somebody can be hiding behind them, you walk out, you can't see them. Most of the recommendations we make are along those lines. We understand, when people donate to the church, they're trying to do it so you can do events and help people, not turn around and spend it on security.
I have one question from my
Okay.
chat.
Go ahead.
Have Mr. Davis on the chat, chat here, like to know what is the number for currency escort?
Just call the general police number. You'll speak with the dispatch center. Let them know. Again, if you call us ahead of time, tell us what time you're going to be doing it, because if we have an emergency and we're tied up, it might be a little while before we can get there. If you're going to go overnight, leave it in a safe, and in the morning when the bank is open, you could also call. We'll get a unit out there and give you an escort. Is there any other questions? Frank, we have anything? Okay, Ashley.
If anybody would like the links that we share today, or the links to the videos, or any of the other links that we have access to, they're online, but I can also email them to you, so they're a bit easier to access for you. Just shoot me an email, give us a call.
We appreciate everybody coming. We know everybody's time is valuable. Hopefully we didn't keep you from dinner that long. But again, we do have this available if you want to get a copy, or if you have any questions or something you're not sure of. Later on, you're talking to somebody and something comes up, give Ashley a call. We'll get the answer and get back to you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Ashley, can I give you an email?
Yes.
Yeah,
Actually, on the sign-in sheet, if you write your email on there. Okay.
Ashley, Mr. Davis asked that you email them as well.
I will.
Okay.
All the